retired Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to be with you, Jack, and welcome back to our home.
Congratulations on your victory as Dallas County GOP Chair. You won by a very wide margin, over 70%.
hmm
Why do you think that was?
I think that people just were looking for a principled message that looked at the issues that we have here. You go back to 2020 in the last presidential election cycle, Democrats outvoting Republicans by 291,076 votes, and being able to talk about the situation we have with lack of precinct chairs and also the lack of the Dallas County having elected Republicans in the leadership, and folks just want to hear a plan, and folks want to hear sincerely what they can do to be a part of that and turning this around.
So, what is your plan to turn this around? Because, as you said,
Mhm.
in the last 10 years, Dallas County has no elected Republicans
Mhm.
in the county level as far as commissioners court,
Yes.
and at the state level, there's only two state representatives who
Yeah.
are Republicans.
Well, I got to tell you, one of the things that I've noticed from being a member of Congress to having been the state party chairman is that Republicans have really lacked focus in the urban population centers, our major cities. And you can see that across the country, where even in a red state, a lot of the cities are run by the Democrats. And I think it's time for us to focus and bring those principles and values there. I think everyone wants to have safety and security. Everyone wants to have better educational and economic opportunities. And we have to go out and not outreach. I've always hated the word outreach, but I think we have to engage with all communities across the Dallas County and all of these metroplexes, because I think that folks do want a better way of life and a better standard of life. And we have to raise up the candidates that will enable them to have a good quality selection. You look at this election cycle right now, no one running for sheriff from the Republican Party side, no one running for tax assessor. We do have someone running for county commission seat 1, but no one running in the other county commission seat, and a lot of judges not running. So I think it's about candidate recruitment, training. I think another thing that we have to do is a better job with going out and filling these precinct chairs. There are about 861 precincts in Dallas County that have eligible registered voters, and Republicans only have a little over 200 precinct chairs. So we got to get back to building that strong ground game.
It's one thing to say it, but how do you actually make it happen?
Well, you got to get out there on the ground. And 4 years ago, when you were, following me as the state party chairman, and we had a big election coming up, and everyone was saying, okay, so what are we going to do, for Donald Trump here in Texas? Say, let's go to the Rio Grande Valley. They had never seen a chairman of the Republican Party of Texas in the Rio Grande Valley, really never heard us in the Rio Grande Valley. And guess what? The big story coming out of Texas was that the Rio Grande Valley flipped in that 2020 election cycle. Zapata County, a county that had not been Republican for a century, ended up flipping. So I think that when you go out and you engage people genuinely and sincerely and talking to them, I think you can make a difference. Not saying you're going to win over everybody, but I think you can change it around. And that 291,076 vote gap that we saw in 2020, I don't want to see it increase.
How concerned are you about the two Republican state representatives, Morgan Meyer in his race in the fall, and then Angie Chen Button as well, as far as them being able to maintain their seats?
Yeah, when I look at Morgan Meyer's seat, without a doubt, they're going to be coming after that seat. I think he was less than 5% a couple of years ago in winning it. And so when we have our team set, we got to get out there and support our team. But one of the things that I'd love to sit down and talk to them about is let's do better with your voting record so that people can believe in you and sending you back down there to vote for you. But I think also we have some opportunities like with Stephen Stanley running against Retta Bowers and some other places we can maybe pick up 1 or 2 seats that the Democrats are not expecting us. So I would like to see us not only go on offense and in other seats, but definitely protect the ones that we have. And I think that we have a good opportunity to do that because the issues are all on our side when you look at what is happening here in Texas and what's happening across the country.
You've heard the criticisms, obviously, when you left the state GOP as chair and ran. There was a lot of criticism. You were looking out more for yourself, et cetera. You left the party with relatively little money. How do you respond to that?
Well, I've always lived with a maxim saying, do not allow irrelevant people to cause you consternation. And I think winning 71 to 29%, I think that puts a lot of that to rest. if I had left the Republican Party of Texas, the largest state Republican Party in the country, in a bad financial situation, that would have been a national news story, not just gossip.
And as far as the biggest challenge you believe that you are facing and the Dallas County GOP is facing, what would that be?
I think is the belief that we can start, moving toward restoring this party back to where it used to be. I think it was 2004 was the last time in the presidential election cycle when Republicans outvoted Democrats. So this is not something that's going to happen overnight. But I think that if you lay out a plan and you get the incremental steps going in the right direction, like I said, most important, let's reduce that number of the disparity that we saw from 2020. Let's try to get Jason Metcalf across the finish line in County Commission Seat 1. Let's make sure that we protect our state House representatives and our state senators that we have here in Dallas County. I think that's some important steps that we can take, right now. And of course, building up our precinct chairs.
And what's your outlook as far as just when you look at Senator Cruz is up for election, obviously former President Trump, you had President Biden here this past week. So talk to me a little bit about, the state as a whole in November.
I think without a doubt, the illegal immigration issue is huge. It affects so many aspects. And when you look at Dallas, the human and sex trafficking issue, Dallas is the #2 city, last time I checked, in the United States of America for sex trafficking. So I think that's a reason why we should be working together on this. When you look at how it affects our education, look at how it affects our health care, look at the trafficking of drugs and the fentanyl crisis, you look at the crime statistics that we have going on here, I think that all of those things would bode well for us to talk about it. And even recently, we saw the Dallas City Council saying that they want to see non-citizens be appointed to governing boards. Where do we get to the point in the United States of America that non-citizens, people here illegally, are going to be put in a position to govern over legal law-abiding citizens? So I think that when we bring these things out and we expose it, I think that if we have the right type of candidates, people are going to say, we reject that.
You talked about the Dallas City Council. What do you make of the fact that Dallas Mayor Eric Johnson is now a Republican? Now, this is obviously, when you talk about the city, it's nonpartisan.
Yeah.
But what do you make of that, and will you be working with the mayor?
Well, I'd love to, and if he's watching our program, please give me a call. Jack Fink has my phone number because I have not heard from him since he decided to become a Republican. And I want to make sure that this is something, again, that is genuine and not just a political opportunistic move that he is making. So I'd love to sit down and talk with him and see how he will help us in supporting us going forward here in Dallas County.
Let's talk on a personal level. We were talking before and you were telling me that you were going to be jumping out of a plane for D-Day on June 6th.
Yeah, in my military career, I was a paratrooper and I got a master rating as a paratrooper. And I got the opportunity, Bill Markham, who heads up the Round Canopy parachute team, met me in December at the airport in Jacksonville, Florida, after I spoke at a veterans event. And he invited me to be a part of their organization and also offered me an opportunity to jump into Normandy. And you talk about bucket lists of bucket lists. I mean, the 80th anniversary of D-Day, there are many of those young men that are not going to be around for another 1 or 2 years. And I give you a great case in point, Ray Lambert, who passed away about 3 years ago, dear friend of mine, landed on Omaha Beach, 16th Infantry Regiment, 1st Infantry Division, which I served in Desert Shield, Desert Storm. So we've got to tell those stories, and that's what this Round Canopy parachute team is all about, commemorating the exploits of those men who liberated an entire continent away from National Socialism, and to be able to fly across the English Channel in a C-47 aircraft and hook up on the same cable line, static cable hook line that they hooked up on, it just doesn't get any better than that, especially when I remember that my dad served in World War II also.
Retired Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks, Jack.